Hello, everybody. Happy Friday. Hello, everybody. I want to start off by thanking Dari. Thank you, Miss Dari, for moderating today and keeping an eye on the chat. Hello, everybody. How are y'all doing? Hello, hello. Today is Friday, February the 4th. We are in February. That's crazy. February already. How's the weather where you are? Today we're going to be painting the very center of our Lamp Post quilt. It will be the last time we're painting on this quilt. I will have it all finished, and next week we are quilting this quilt. Yay! Hope you stick around. Hello, everybody. It's so great to see you. So, before we get started, I'd just like to run through a short list of announcements. If you are on Patreon, hello. I don't know if you saw yesterday. If you haven't seen it, head on over to the Patreon page and print this out. We are starting our block of the month. The first block is the beads block. The block by itself is down at the bottom. Up above shows an example table runner you could make with that block. Isn't that gorgeous? So pretty. I'm super excited to start our block of the month. I'm doing my quilt and all my blocks in reds and whites. I will finally have a red and white quilt. But yes, head on over to Patreon if you have not grabbed that. We are doing a Zoom next week. Wednesday at 8:30 p.m. and I'm going to show you and discuss all the different applique methods, and I'm going to make this block with you in a workshop. So check that out. Yay, that's exciting. Hello, everybody. Today we're doing the last bit of painting on this quilt, but next week we're going to do block of the month. The date is up on the screen. I'm going to show you that mug rug here in just a second. But I have uploaded the pattern in the description box if you want to grab that and get that printed off and get your stuff ready, because we're going to do an evening Zoom Tuesday, the 15th at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So go ahead and print that off. The link is down below. Yay. And I also have a picture of the next quilt we are making. And I'm going to show you that here in just a second. Hello, everybody. Delia said, how do I get to Patreon? There is a link, my dear, down in the description box. It'll take you over there and then show you the different tiers that you might want to join. Yay, Dari has time to catch up on all the art quilts. Yay. Hello, everybody. All right, I'm going to switch over to the mat. And I'm going to show you this month's mug rug before we start painting. I did mine in purples, y'all, but when we make it together next week, I'm actually going to be working from the bag of scraps that I bought at the antique mall. So, but I did a purple one. It's called Lots of Hexies. It's a 2-page PDF. It tells you what you need to make the mug rug. And I'm going to actually make it with you. So I did not type out all of the instructions, right? And then the second page has all of the templates that you need to make this mug rug. It is a turned edge applique project. However, you could do it with raw edge applique if you wanted to. But I thought it would be fun to show you how to use fusible interfacing to make a turned edge applique project. So that's what we're doing next week. It's a perfect size little mug rug. And if you like hexies, you're going to love this one. It is so pretty. See that? So that's what we're making next week. Go down to the description box and grab that pattern. I don't know why I'm so nervous today. Whew. Take a deep breath, Lisa. Susan, it's your first time here. Hello. I'm so glad you're here. All right, so we are close to being done with the Lamp Post quilt, right? Today we're going to paint the center. I might not get it all painted in the hour, so I'll finish that sometime in the next week. And we're quilting next week. Our next project is a Hummingbird mosaic. Isn't that gorgeous? It's going to also be a 20-inch by 20-inch quilt. Of course, you could change the print size settings in your printer when printing off the patterns if you wanted to, but it is designed to be the same size as the previous art quilts that we have done. Two ways to do it. You could paint it just like we've done the last 3 quilts, or you can do it in fabric. And here's the big news. Thank you, Anitra. Isn't that cool? The next quilt, this one, I'm doing in fabric. I love doing the paints, but more people seem to be on board with doing the fabric versions. So I'm going to set my paints aside for the Hummingbird quilt. I'm only making 1. So I would do this version in fabric with you each week. So if you are interested in doing this quilt, I have put some of the things you need to do the painted version and the fabric version. This cover sheet is also in the description box. You can print that off and start gathering your top fabric and all the things that you might need to make this quilt. Okay, so if you're interested in doing this quilt, grab that. Let me just show you week 1 of this quilt. Right, this is what the pieces are going to look like. It's going to be a 9-week series, and each week you will get a new piece, right? You're going to get a right side up version, and you will also get a mirrored image version. Same piece, right side up, mirror imaged, right? Right side up is great for painting. It is great for freezer paper applique. And it's also going to be great to tape these pieces together if you're using a fusible, so you can line up all your pieces in the right direction, right? If you're going to do it with fabric and a fusible product like Heat and Bond, Wonder Under, you'll be tracing your pieces from the mirror imaged paper, right? My mind drew a blank for a second. So each week, this is what your pieces are going to look like. Right side up, mirror image. We're going to start at the very top of the quilt and work our way in rows. Right? Pretty good size pieces, not too small. I imagine there might be some smaller pieces, but on average, your pieces are going to be about this size. So that's a good size to work with. So that's coming up as soon as we're done quilting the Lamp Post quilt. Nadine, it'll actually be 9 pages, but you'll get a page each week. That kind of prevents people from working ahead of me. Even though I love seeing everybody's finished quilt, everybody will be working at the same pace with this quilt. Unless you wait till the very end and do it all at one time, right? And it's a free pattern, so I hope that you follow along and maybe tell your friends who might like a project like this. All right, I'm going to bring this in, and this is where we are. I just have the very center portion left to paint. That's it. Yep, 1 sheet a week. So you can either do it in paint or you can do it in fabric. We've shown both methods in the previous series, right? So you could do it just like we're doing this one, or you can do it in fabric the way I'm going to do it. Whew. All right, so we're going to jump in and start painting. I'm going to start in the very center, y'all. And here's the thing, with this quilt, when I painted this picture, I really wanted the inside to be very bright, like a candle was shining in there, right? But I don't want to leave the white fabric just naked, and I don't want to paint just plain white paint in there. So I'm going to, look, I forgot to clean my tray last week. I'm going to start with some white. And I'm just going to put some white paint in my tray. And I'm going to bring in a drop of yellow. It's going to be ever so light, right? Just a drop. Drop. Cheap. See that little tiny drop? And I'm going to mix this before I add any fabric medium to it. It's just going to be a very pale shade of yellow. Very pale. Not exactly white. Not a bright yellow. All right, and now let me mix in some fabric medium. Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining in today and watching. Even if you're not making this quilt, I hope that you're still just hanging out with everybody. Mix in that fabric medium. It shouldn't take too long to paint the very inside portion. It's hard to tell if you get this fabric medium mixed in because the paint is so light. Just mix it in really good. Thank you to all my moderators today. I'm going to tell you, that saves me so much stress knowing y'all are keeping an eye on the chat. All right, let me wipe that off. And we're going to start painting the very center. I really should have a piece of paper, but I don't have one. It is so light yellow, it's going to look white on your end. In person, you just see a tad bit of yellow. One of the cool things about doing these series, y'all, is that I know, you probably have several projects going on, right? Doing these small art quilts is kind of perfect because you can work on them here and there. And if you just follow along weekly, it's just enough of a break from your large projects, right? Just going in with a little bit of yellow. The Hummingbird quilt, although we're going to be working on that quilt for 9 weeks, is kind of coming at a really good time for me. Because each week we have quite a few little pieces in that week, right? But it's not overwhelming. It's not like a whole big section. So I think it's manageable to do all the pieces in that week. Possibly even while we're live. So I won't have any homework. I have 4 quilts in the making for a client. And so that is keeping my days pretty busy. I'm currently cropping photos and printing photos for those quilts. And I imagine when I start sewing these quilts, my days will be pretty busy. And I have 5 quilts to quilt for clients. So yeah, having smaller sections to do each week will be perfect. All right, nice and thin paint, no clumps or rolls, but a good solid coverage. I will have to go in and touch up that black a little bit once this is dry. I don't know that you can see, you can maybe see a slight shade difference because of the lighting. All right, so the next part is this inner circle. I want to do a little bit of a brighter yellow, but not very, very dark. Sorry, y'all. My voice is not wanting to cooperate today. All right, so let's do this yellow. Oh, that'll be pretty. And we'll mix in some fabric medium. I wonder if I have just a scrap piece of paper somewhere close by. I'll use this and print off another one. I'm scared I'm going to make a mess. There we go. All right, we're going to stir this yellow. I am busy. I've been so busy, and it's going to be busy for the next few weeks. I can tell you that. But I love it. I love it so much. Stirring, stirring, stirring. Today is a very gloomy day. It is very dark outside today. But I walked out to the mailbox to drop off something, and it was actually kind of warm outside today. All right, so you can definitely see the difference between those two, right? Oh goodness, I just put my paper in the white paint. All right, so we're going to just try to be careful. I'm going to go in and try and get these more intricate pieces first. But I'm going to also try to be quick about it, which means I'm going to be painting over my black lines a little bit. That's okay. I'm going to go touch them up when this is dry. I'm going to touch them up with a black fabric marker, which will work perfectly because since all this will be painted now, that marker is not going to bleed. You can see I'm just painting willy-nilly. Just like that. What is your paint to fabric medium ratio? It is supposed to be, for the brand I'm using the Deco Art. 2 parts paint to 1 part medium. I just eyeball it. I don't like very carefully measure it out. Each brand of fabric medium is different though. So make sure to read the instructions for the type of fabric medium you're using. I need a mint or something. Ooh, you can definitely see the difference in those 2 colors, right? I'm being extremely messy with my painting. I imagine I'll go in and color that black. I'll actually use the smaller brush in these areas, and then we'll move to a bigger brush, which will help speed up the process. I'm really kind of excited about the Hummingbird quilt. My mom loves hummingbirds. My Nana loved hummingbirds. In the summer, we get big flocks of hummingbirds. I think that's called a charm, right? We get charms of hummingbirds. The first year we were here, and I'm not exaggerating, I bet you there were 35, 40 hummingbirds all swarming around our deck. The last 2 summers, will it have been 3 summers? I'll lose track now. But it hasn't been quite as many as the first year we were here. Oh yeah, I guess we moved right going into this summer the first year. But the last 2 summers, there wasn't quite as many. All right. Let me get the inside of this scrolly area, and then we'll move to a bigger brush. I will tell you what, I don't know if you saw the bag of scraps that I found at the antique mall. It was $2.50. And there looked like there was some vintage scraps in there. I have not opened that bag up yet. So I am super excited to actually open that up with you next week when I'm making the Hexie mug rug. I cannot wait to see what's in the middle of that bag. I don't know. When we go antique shopping, I tend to love grab bags like that. Do you ever get those? It's just scraps of fabric. You don't know what's all inside, right? You can only see what's on the outside. I like doing it with jewelry too. I guess about 2 years ago, I bought a jewelry bag. It was stuffed. And opened it live during on a Facebook. And we just sorted through all the tangled jewelry and stuff. I don't know why I love doing that so much, but I do. I think it would be so much fun to get one of those grab bags and have a quilt and just start embellishing the quilt with the things that are inside the grab bag. That would be awesome. See, this bigger brush moves things along quite nicely. Yes, like a treasure hunt. I actually found some really cool stuff in that grab bag. In that grab bag, there was a little pill case with a handle on it and some porcelain flowers on the top. And I looked it up, y'all. Okay, so I spent, I think it was like $25, $28 for the grab bag. I looked up that pill bottle and they sell for like $80 on Amazon, on eBay. Like, holy cow. But I still have it. It's sitting on my desk over there. I should probably sell it and then go buy more grab bags. That's what I should do. Do y'all ever sell stuff on eBay? Before I started making quilts on commission, I had an eBay store. But in my eBay store, I sold like refurbished handbags and stuff. Like I only really looked for like fossil bags, Coach bags. Dooney and Burke were some bags that I would look for. My favorite were the fossils though. One time I found a patchwork fossil bag at a flea market and we paid $5 for it. That bag sold for $95 on eBay. But now, since I've gotten back into quilting, I really wish I had that patchwork fossil bag. I'm sorry I sold it now. Maybe I'll go sell that little pill bottle. Go buy some jewelry bags and we'll open them up here. I don't know why that sounds like such a fun day to me. I'm really glad that the black lines are still showing up so pretty black on the camera because I'm painting right over top of them. I guess I should have lint rolled this before we started painting. I'm having all little bits of lint in my paint. But see, this has been just pinned up on the wall. It's probably collected all kinds of lint this past week. I don't think that would be a bad idea. If you go in between periods of painting your quilt, I would probably just lint roll it before you start painting so you don't get little specks of lint. I don't think they're showing up on camera, but they're there. They are certainly there. I don't know that they would show up in a dark color, but this yellow just makes them sort of pop. All right. There's our inner circle, yellow. Let me mix up some darker yellow. I want to go a little bit darker on this next string. I'm so bad I did not rinse out my paints from last week. I'm going to have to go through and read all y'all's comments because I miss so much when I'm looking down. All right, this yellow is a little bit darker. All right, this is the yellow I'm using. That's the yellow we just did. But just like we did with the white, I'm going to bring in some orange and just shade this a tad bit darker. Whoa, that might have been too much. We'll see. Might have been too much. All right, yep. That's a little more orangey than what I wanted. Eee. We're going to add a little bit more yellow to it, and then we're going to go with it. Ooh, Dara, you used to work at the fossil store? I'm not a big purse person. I'm just not. When I go out and about, I don't usually carry a purse. But if I do carry a purse, my favorites are Vera Bradley and Fossil. There, that is better. I don't know that I have room to add in a fabric medium. And I know that I've mixed way too much paint for this space. I already know that. Glory. Let's try to be a little bit neater, Lisa. There. Ooh, so y'all like the idea of opening up grab bags? I'm going to tell you, you find all kinds of neat little trinkets, doodads, charms. I like taking apart necklaces and using the beads on pin cushions and things like that. I do think that would be fun. All right, there we go. I do think that's a little bit better. All right, I'm going to wipe this brush out just a little bit. Tamara said, do you ever cover your paint palette in plastic wrap so you can reuse the paint? I should. But I don't. I really should. I should have some plastic bags up here for just that. Maybe I'll get some. But today is the last day of painting on this quilt. And the next quilt I'm doing with fabric. So I have some time to get some plastic bags before my next painted project. Oh yeah, that's nice. See, it's just a little bit darker. And I've actually still have yellow in my brush because I didn't clean my brush. I just quickly wiped it out. So there's yellow streaks running through there. That's kind of lovely. So, as we're finishing up the painting today, I'm going to let this dry until tomorrow. And then I'm going to heat set all of this entire quilt, right? Nothing's been heat set to this point. But once this middle section is really good and dry, like tomorrow, I'm going to cover it with some parchment paper and I'm going to heat set the entire thing. When I do, because of the fabric medium, it's going to soften up that paint and everything's going to feel really nice and smooth. Right now it feels, hear that? It feels kind of scratchy. But once you heat set it, it does soften up and really smooths out the feel of it. And then next week, I will come and quilt this with you. I will already have it basted, right? So we won't have to sit and watch the basting part. I'm going to use a thin, let's see, which batting do I have? Plenty of, I have some offcuts of some warm and natural cotton batting. That's nice and thin, so I will probably use that. And I'll pick a pretty bag fabric, and I'm going to glue base the entire quilt, right? I don't want to put any pins through the painted area because it will leave holes. So I'm going to glue base this quilt. Like all the quilts that I quilt. But if you're a pin baster, just know that if you put pins in this, it's going to leave little holes because the fabric's been painted. All right, so there's that circle. Now we're going to finish up with an orange on the outside. I do think the quilting part, next week we will start with some straight lines and a regular pressing foot. And then I might go in and do something in the different sections. We'll see. I still haven't quite decided and committed to a quilting design. Will you only be using quilting cotton on the Hummingbird quilt? Yes. And to be quite honest, I'm going to source my fabric selection that I already have. So I don't plan on going to buy anything except for, I'm going to do mine with a black background. So I'll need some black fabric as the base. I will have to buy that. Other than that, I'm going to be working from my scrap baskets, I think. I do have a Teflon sheet. I tend to like parchment paper better. I don't know why, but that's just me. I buy these packs of parchment paper. They come in different sizes, right? It's like 100 or 200 sheets. I have two different sizes, a 16 by 24 and like a 13 by 20. And I tend to really like using those. Not to mention a couple of my Teflon sheets when I was heat pressing some t-shirts for t-shirt quilts. Every once in a while you get a logo that sticks to the Teflon sheet. So my Teflon sheets have been marred with whatever those logos were made out of. So I tend not to use those. All right, this outer ring, we're doing a solid orange. My goal with using the different shades of yellow to orange was to give the appearance of light coming from the lamp post from the very center of the quilt. And I think that does that. Very pretty. I still have not quilted my fabric version yet. I don't know when that's going to happen. Hopefully soon, but I'm not quite sure. I think doing the multiple, like two quilts, two of the same quilts, like doubled my workload. The hummingbird, I'm just making one. All right, y'all. The painting is coming to an end for this quilt. There we go. She just needs to sit and dry. I think it's gorgeous. That didn't take too terribly long. Let me set that aside so I don't mess anything up. There we go, y'all. I think it's gorgeous. I like the different shading, but I also think it would be pretty if you just did it all solid like we did this one particular block. Remember that? And that is the Lamp Post quilt, all painted. Do you use your big press to heat set your art quilts or just your regular iron? You could do both. To be honest, Miss Dari, I use my heat press because it's fast, right? I have the 16 by 20 heat press, and it only takes me 2 or 3 passes on a quilt this size, and I'm done. And I usually wait until the heat press, I'm heat pressing something else, and then I just heat press this at the same time. But you don't have to have a heat press. You can use your iron. It just takes a little bit longer. That's all. Yep, I use parchment paper with my heat press too. I do. What kind of paint are you using? Usually I like using the apple barrel or the Americana. For this quilt, this is the brand. It was in a box of 36 colors from Amazon. I don't think the link is in the description box of this particular video, but in one of the videos in this series, I did put the link to this specific paint. So you can check out, I think it was like video 2. But any acrylic paint with an added fabric medium will work. And the last few quilts I've been using the Deco Art fabric medium. And I really, really like this one. I'm going to be really honest. I have the more expensive golden fabric medium, the GAC 900, I think it is. And I tend to prefer this one. I've used them both lots and lots now. I tend to prefer this one. But you could use a fabric paint. You could use the ink tints products. You could do it in watercolors if you wanted to. So yeah, like the possibilities of getting the colors in different mediums are endless. Yes, that is very, very pretty. Yay, now I have 2 of these quilts. I don't know if you can see it right behind me. That's the fabric version. It's just pinned to the wall, waiting to be quilted. But they both kind of look similar because of the design. But at that one I used purples. This one I did blues. Ooh. Sheila was thinking a shiny fabric would be stunning. That would be gorgeous. Don't make me want to go out and buy new fabric. I'm going to try to use what I have. But that sounds gorgeous. So yep, that needs to sit and dry really, really good. Then I'm going to heat press it. I'm going to layer and baste it. And next week we're going to be quilting. I really kind of love the idea of some cross hatching on this quilt. I've been toying with that. And then thinking also, instead of cross hatching, using a straight stitch, which would be super simple, right? But going in the black lines with the straight stitch. For me, I then would put on my free motion foot and stitch in the black areas of the scroll and the lamp. You could certainly use your straight stitch and do that too. You'd just be turning the quilt a lot, right? To maneuver through the scrolly parts. But because it isn't a very large quilt, I don't think that that would be unmanageable if you wanted to do that. I also kind of thought, and I don't know if you remember when we did that quilt right there, when I showed the quilting of that one, I used a decorative stitch in black and went around part of the frame in that quilt, and it was stunning. It was gorgeous. So I kind of thought maybe using a decorative stitch in some of these areas too. I don't know. I have a week to decide. A week. So there we are, y'all. I hope that, and here's the thing, I know many of you could care less about painting on fabric. But thank you so much for hanging out with me and entertaining me while I enjoy one of my passions. And for many of you, you've started painting on fabric and you either really loved it or you didn't care for it. The main thing that I'm excited about is you trying something that you haven't tried before, right? We're not always going to like everything we try, and we won't know unless we try, right? If we like it or not. But yeah, it's been a lot of fun. So let me move this off to the side. I do know that some of you may have come in and missed the quilt that we're doing next. This is going to dry. Dun, dun, dun. Right there. All right, so in case you missed it, this is the quilt we're doing next. I'm going to be using Heat and Bond Light. I have a whole bolt of it, and it tends to be my preferred fusible. I won't be painting this one, but you could paint it, and it would be gorgeous painted. I've been so torn about it, but I think predominantly most people watching prefer to use the fabric. So that's what we're going to do, because I aim to please. And yeah, we're going to work 9 weeks, 9 different sections. And I'm kind of really excited about this one. Yep. So let's talk about some colors, because I did not put colors. I want you to choose your colors for this quilt, right? In the supply list, you see what the whole quilt layout is going to look like. The supply list has the red boxes. That shows you basically what we're working on from week to week, right? You'll notice the red box cuts through some of the sections. And in those pieces, I'm going to wait until the next week when I have the whole section. See, this petal and this petal is cut off. The center of the flower is cut off. You'll get that the next week. I'm going to wait till I have that complete shape to do these pieces, right? But all the shapes that I have complete pieces for, we'll do together in that week. But you can kind of take some crayons or color pencils and play with this and choose your colors that way. You can experiment with your colors that way. I do think I might use some very light yellows and whites for the petals of the flowers. We have some stems and some leaves, so I'm going to be pulling out my green scraps. We have lots of sky area. I might do a gradient from like lighter blue to darker blue with all of these mosaic sky pieces. And then the hummingbird, I don't know. I'm going to have to look at pictures of hummingbirds to get some color schemes because they're all different colors. So, yeah, I guess when we get to week number 2, I can start thinking about the colors of my hummingbird. Janet, the hummingbird. Okay, so next week we're quilting the lamppost. And I imagine that'll be the end of the Lamp Post series, right? Which might mean I might end up quilting some of it to really finish it up off camera and, of course, do the binding. But we'll be doing the quilting on the Lamp Post next week. So the following week, 2 weeks, I reckon, we'll be starting the Hummingbird. Is this paper piecing? Wow, I guess you could. But no, I'm doing raw edge applique. Raw edge applique tends to be very easy for me. It's one of my preferred applique methods. I'm not quite sure. See, I do some paper piecing, but it's mostly straight lines and geometrical shapes, right? I don't know how you could go about doing this in paper piecing. I don't know. But for me, it's just so easy to do raw edge applique. I do think English paper piecing, you might be able to do that versus paper piecing on your sewing machine. I think the English paper piecing method, like if you were to take a piece of, let's say you took a piece of freezer paper and you traced this shape, and then you bonded it to another piece of freezer paper just to make it a little bit thicker, right? And then you cut out on the traced line. That would give you this shape. Then you could do your fabric and baste over your edges, right? And then when you do this piece, you could hand sew right there. And then when you do this piece, you could hand sew right there. And so it would be pieced by hand instead of applique. That's a lot of hand sewing. And while that sounds very fun, I know my patience level. I would lose interest really quick, I think, because I'm just not that fast with the hand sewing. But I do think it's possible. Miss Pat, I'm not doing an SVG for this particular pattern. Imagine all of those pieces you'd have to figure out, right? And because this is a free quilt, no, I think it would be really, really, really confusing to do an SVG. You'd have so many pieces. I don't know. Let me think. Let me think on it, Pat. Let me think. I almost think it would just be faster because each week, look, these are your pieces for this week. I think it would almost be faster just to trace them and cut them yourself than to fuse the fabric, put it on there, figure out which piece you're cutting, cut it out. Some things, the SVG, the cutting machines save a lot of time and a lot of effort, and sometimes it's just faster to do it by hand. Let me think on it. I do think this quilt painted would be lovely. I really want to do it painted, but I'm going to do mine in fabric, and it's going to be gorgeous too. So I'm still excited about it. What is the difference between paper piecing and English paper piecing? I did talk about the English paper piecing, how I would approach it. Paper piecing on your sewing machine. If you go watch the Stars and Stripes mug rug, that's paper piecing on the machine. The log cabin coaster we did, that's paper piecing on the machine. English paper piecing is like when you're doing hexies and you turn the edges over to the back side and then you hand sew the hexies. So that's English paper piecing. Delia, the raw edge, and so there's a couple methods for raw edge applique too, right? Investigate all the different methods. I'm only going to be showing using a fusible, but you could do it with freezer paper too, right? So with a fusible, we're going to be working on, this is right side up, this is mirror imaged. Freezer paper method, fusible method. When you're working with like heat and bond and Wonder Under, Steam a Seam, you're tracing a mirror imaged version of your pieces, right? So with my heat and bond, I would trace this piece, fuse that to the back side of my fabric, and then cut it out exactly. And then when we put it on our quilt, I would line it up right there on my top and fuse it down. Then you have to stitch down the pieces unless you're using a permanent fusible. Then you don't have to, right? So that's raw edge applique with a quick overview. These patterns will be free in the description box each week of the video, right? But what I did do is if you want to grab the instructions, well, they're not really instructions, right? Top fabric batting and back fabric sizes, and then a few possible supplies that you might need to gather before we get started for the painted version or for the fabric version. And you will see the breakdown of the weeks and the puzzle pieces, really. And then, yeah, you could even color this in if you want to, like, pre-assign the colors. You could do that too. This is in the description box of this video if you want to get this now. It's going to be free. It's a free pattern. If by chance I do an SVG weekly of the pieces, that will not be free. I'm going to tell you that right now. I love you. But that's going to be time consuming to get all that done. And to be quite honest, I just don't know that I have the time to do that. We're going to stay completely free, I do believe, on this one. Free is good. All right, y'all. And if you missed it, this is the mug rug. Lots of hexies we're doing next week. And the pattern for that is down in the description box as well. So lots of stuff in the description box this week. If this happens to be the first video of the Lamp Post Art Quilt video that you're catching, you can grab that pattern in the description box. There's also a link to the playlist where all these videos are if you want to skim through them. I know the nature of them being live tends to make them a little bit of a longer video with a short amount of stuff getting done each week in this particular series. But if you want to skim through, I do share lots of tips for painting on the fabric. And there is also a video where I did the fabric version. So if you missed that, it's one video showing you how I did the fabric version on the wall behind me. Oh, Pat, you're going to do both paint and fabric. Wow. I hope you send me pictures. I'm going to tell you, I saw your painted version on Creative Crew and it was gorgeous. You did so good. Oh no, the last one, I saw both. Because you did a painted version and a fabric version, didn't you? Dari's thinking about doing both versions too. Miss Betty. Hello, Miss Betty. How are you doing? Have you gotten your new laptop yet? Oh, yeah, so the painting is done. That's awesome. I can't wait to quilt this. I'm going to tell you what's really awesome. Now, you can't see because I rearranged my wall. The empty space behind me on my wall, I need that to lay out these photos. So I had to do some rearranging. You can't see it. The seahorse is right above this one on my wall. But before I had to rearrange my wall, I had them kind of grouped. There's 3 of them. And it's going to make the most gorgeous, like, collage of art quilts. I don't know where I'm going to put them yet, but I'm going to find a space. Ooh, Denise from England. Your first time in live in a long time. I'm so glad you caught us. Betty says, I procrastinate. I know the feeling. You probably don't want to go out today either. It's going to be messy. Pamela, thank you so much. Aw, bless you too, my friend. Thank you. All right, y'all. I don't know if any of y'all are in my area or plan on attending the Mid-Atlantic Quilt Festival at the end of this month. I'm going on the 24th. I would love to see you there. If they're doing the lunch upstairs, I would love to have lunch with you. That would be awesome. I hope they're doing that this year. I went the last time I went was like 2 years ago, and I went with Miss Debbie, or we met there, and we decided to go upstairs and have lunch at the buffet, right? And they have this great big, it's a convention center, so it's a great big hall room, very nice buffet, right? And huge round tables that you could sit at with a whole bunch of people, right? And I think it would be awesome to sit and have lunch with whoever comes. Anitra's, you're so funny. She said, Procrastinators Anonymous meeting scheduled sometime in the future. Jeannie, you just got home. Jeannie, did you see us? I mailed my block. I got it done and I mailed it. I know you've already seen that. Patricia said, I love fabric painting since I'm all thumbs with applique. I love the fabric painting too. But here's the thing. I grew up painting all kinds of stuff, painting things and painting pictures, right? So a paintbrush to me is second nature. Not everybody loves it. One of the cool things about doing an art quilt is that you get to choose your medium. So if you want to do the hummingbird and paint, I hope you do, because it's going to be gorgeous. And Jeannie said, yes, you are a good girl. I know, I got it done in time. Am I having a paint party tonight? Well, Miss Jeannie, I know you just got here, but look on the table behind me. It's all done. And I don't know if I'm going to host a Zoom. I think if somebody else hosts a Zoom, I'll join in for a little bit, but I don't know that I'm hosting a Zoom. Because after this live, I still have 20, 40 pictures to crop and to print. And then I'll have 60 pictures to heat press. And so I got to work on that this afternoon until dinner time. Then it's cooked the dinner. And after that, I might just be spent. So I might join a Zoom, but I don't know that I would join for the whole time. So I know I probably won't host a Zoom. Vicky said, hint, hint. What are you doing tonight, Miss Vicky? Y'all, if y'all have not joined, if you're on Facebook and you haven't joined the Creative Crew, it is an awesome place to be. Not only do you get inspired by everybody else's projects, a lot of the times people share projects we're doing here on YouTube over there, right? and then projects that you're working on outside of this stuff. And if you have questions, you can post your questions about whatever you're working on. We occasionally do Zooms, and it's great because, like, you see me right here on YouTube, but in the Zoom, I can see everybody else's faces too, and I really enjoy it. And it's a lot of fun. So we do host Zooms on the Creative Crew. All right, everybody. I hope that you have a fantastic weekend. If you're having nasty weather, stay inside. There's nothing that important that you have to venture out to in nasty weather, right? Just stay inside, hunker down, and paint on some fabric, right? Yes, next week I'm going to see you twice. We're doing lots of Hexie's mug rug in the evening, and we're quilting the Lamp Post quilt next Friday. So I hope you can join us. Thank you so much for hanging out with us today. Let's see. There we go. All right, everybody. I can't wait to quilt this quilt with you. I'll see you next Friday. Bye.